When Ethan first saw her, she was sitting alone in the dim corner of the orphanage, small, fragile, clutching a worn-out teddy bear missing one eye. Her name was Lily, a 7-year-old girl who hadn't spoken a single word since the day she was found wandering the streets after a fire that had stolen her entire family. She didn't cry, didn't laugh, didn't scream. She just stared blankly at the floor as though her soul had gone silent. Ethan, who had lost his wife and unborn child in a car crash 2 years earlier, felt something awaken inside him at the sight of her. Maybe it was the emptiness in his heart recognizing the same emptiness in hers, or maybe destiny had brought two broken souls together to heal one another. Without a second thought, he signed the adoption papers and took her home, not realizing how profoundly this choice would change both their lives. The first few days were heavy with silence. Lily would spend hours by the window watching raindrops race down the glass. Sometimes she'd draw little stick figures, a man, a woman, and a girl holding hands. Ethan tried to talk to her, but she only met his gaze for a brief moment before turning away. Still, he never forced her, never raised his voice. Every night he'd leave a small note on her bedside table. "You are safe. You are loved. You are home." Slowly, her silence began to melt. She started following him into the garden, helping him water the flowers. She hummed softly while painting, her wordless tunes echoing softly through the house. For the first time in years, Ethan felt peace. The home that once held nothing but grief was now filled with gentle warmth and quiet affection. As the years slipped by, Lily blossomed into a graceful, gifted young woman. Though she still didn't speak, her eyes told stories words never could. She poured her heart into her paintings, turning her pain into breathtaking beauty. Her art caught the world's attention. People came to her exhibitions just to feel what she could not say. Ethan would stand quietly in the back, clapping softly, his eyes glistening with tears every time someone praised her talent. He knew that each painting was more than art. It was her way of saying thank you to the man who gave her a second chance at life. And yet, deep inside, Ethan still held one quiet hope, that someday she would find her voice again. Not because he needed to hear her, but because he wanted her soul to be free. When Lily turned 17, she was nominated for a National Art Award. Ethan accompanied her to the ceremony, wearing his old blue suit, the one his late wife had once said made him look kind. As Lily walked onto the stage, radiant in a simple white dress, the crowd fell silent. The host handed her the microphone, and for a long moment she stood there, trembling. Then she looked at Ethan, her lips quivering, and whispered one word, "Dad." The entire hall gasped. Ethan froze, his eyes flooding with tears as the word echoed through his heart. He buried his face in his hands and wept, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming beauty of that single fragile word. It was more than sound. It was healing. It was love, forgiveness, and belonging all wrapped in one breath. When she stepped down, she ran into his arms and they held each other tightly, crying together. Two souls finally complete. After that day, everything changed. Lily began speaking, slowly learning to give voice to the emotions she had carried for so long. Every morning she called him Dad, and every time Ethan smiled as if hearing it for the first time. Their house filled with laughter and music. She painted while he read aloud from old books, his voice calm and steady. She told him about her dream, to open an art school for children who had suffered like her. And Ethan realized then that his purpose was fulfilled, to teach someone broken how to love again. Years passed. Ethan grew old, his hands trembling, his eyes dim, but his heart still glowed when he looked at Lily. She never married, saying her heart already belonged to the man who raised her. One autumn afternoon, as the golden light filled their home, Ethan lay in bed, his breathing slow. Lily sat beside him, painting a picture of them under the same tree he had planted the day he adopted her. With his final strength, Ethan told her that she had given him life again, that she was his most beautiful chapter. She kissed his forehead and whispered "Dad" one last time. A peaceful smile touched his lips as he took his final breath, leaving the world with love in his heart. Lily buried him beneath that same tree and placed her old teddy bear beside him. Each year she visited with new paintings, tributes to their shared story. The world came to know her as a renowned artist, but to her she was still the silent girl saved by love. When her hair turned silver and her hands grew weak, she returned once more to that sacred tree. Carrying her final painting, of a little girl holding hands with an old man walking into a horizon of light. She sat beside his grave and whispered that she was ready to go home. The next morning, they found her there, peaceful and smiling, as if she had simply fallen asleep. She was buried beside Ethan under that same tree. Every spring it bloomed with white flowers that smelled faintly of rain and paint, as if carrying their souls in each petal. People called it the Tree of Love, saying that on quiet nights, one could hear a girl's laughter and a man's gentle voice reading softly beneath its branches. Decades later, when their home was turned into an art museum, a hidden room was discovered, filled with hundreds of unseen paintings. Each one captured the journey of a little girl and her father through every season of life. On the final canvas, Lily had painted herself as a child again, holding Ethan's hand as they walked into a doorway of light surrounded by stars. Beneath it, she had written 3 simple words: "Love never dies." People from all around the world traveled great distances to witness the magic of Lily's paintings. The museum halls would fall silent the moment visitors stepped inside, as though every brushstroke demanded reverence. Some stood for hours in front of a single canvas, unable to look away, their eyes shimmering with tears they couldn't explain. They said her art didn't just portray love, and it breathed it. Each stroke seemed to carry a heartbeat. Every color whispered a memory, and every shadow spoke of 2 souls who had found each other beyond the bounds of loss and time. Some visitors claimed they could feel Ethan's presence lingering between the frames, a warmth that wrapped around them like sunlight after rain. Others said they heard faint echoes on the sound of a man's gentle laughter and the distant humming of a little girl who once painted her pain into beauty. The story of Ethan and Lily spread far beyond the museum's walls. Artists found inspiration, parents found hope, and children who had lost their families found courage in their tale. Teachers told their students about the orphan girl who turned silence into color. Lovers who had given up on love visited the museum together and left holding hands a little tighter. Even strangers who came empty-hearted said they walked away feeling lighter, as if a small piece of them had been healed by the invisible thread of love that lived within those paintings. And so, their bond lived on, not in flesh, but in memory, in every shade and every stroke, in the quiet whisper of leaves above their graves. The old tree that stood beside their resting place became a sacred site. Each spring it blossomed with white petals that glowed faintly in the moonlight, as though reflecting the love buried beneath its roots. Locals called it the Eternal Tree, believing it carried the souls of Ethan and Lily within. On calm nights when the air was still and the world seemed to hold its breath, people swore they could hear soft laughter drifting through the branches, a father's deep, tender chuckle and a daughter's gentle giggle blending into the wind like an endless lullaby. Some claimed to have seen more, 2 faint figures walking hand in hand under the silver glow of the moon. They said the old man's head tilted lovingly toward the girl, and she looked up at him with that same unspoken trust that had once bridged the silence between them. The villagers often left flowers or small paintings at the base of the tree, whispering their own prayers of love, loss, and hope. It became a place where broken hearts came to heal, where people learned that true love doesn't end when life does. Over the years, legends grew around their story. Poets wrote verses about the silent child who painted eternity. Filmmakers captured their tale, and musicians composed songs inspired by their bond. But no matter how many times their story was retold, no one could ever capture the full essence of what Ethan and Lily shared, because it wasn't just love between a father and daughter. It was love in its purest form, untouched by time, unbroken by death, unshaken by silence. And on nights when the moonlight poured gently over the hill where the tree stood, the petals shimmered like tiny stars. Travelers passing by often stopped and listened, feeling something stir within their hearts. A soft reminder that even in the quietest corners of the world, love never fades. It changes form, it moves through colors, memories, and whispers in the wind. And sometimes, if you listen closely enough, you can still hear them. The girl who once painted her heart onto the canvas of the world, and the man who taught her that even the deepest silence can be filled with love that echoes forever.